So this video may already be on. I don't know. This takes a little time to adjust. So I'm gonna start, I think I'm just gonna start talking. Okay, question here. Yesterday, someone asked me if or what were some easy, simple things that I like to make. So one thing, even before this, even before I think I did this program last year for the first time, was I like to take soup stock, so vegetable stock in this case, take any kind of greens. Spinach is really easy because it takes like less than a minute to cook. Or you could use Swiss chard, collard greens, kale, although kale takes a bit of time, beet greens, any of that, put a ton of it in there. And then I like to chop up an avocado and add sauerkraut. And this kind of sauerkraut is just cabbage and salt fermented. And I really love the creaminess of the avocado and the crunch of the sauerkraut. And then I add my Himalayan salt. So that is my really easy. And if you wanted to add something else, some kind of protein to that, you could. But I will often eat that for dinner if I don't feel like having something heavy. Sorry, you can probably hear my kids screaming in the background. The next thing that I like to do is just a bowl. And the thing I will always put in the bowl is sauerkraut. I'm kind of obsessed with sauerkraut. I think when I was younger, maybe it was like something you would get in a jar, but now that it's, you can buy it fresh, I really love it. And it's good for your gut. So you could put a poached or a hard-boiled egg, or if you wanted to cook it another way, that's fine too. Poached eggs and hard-boiled eggs are the kind of the cleanest way to cook an egg. There's no interference with, there's no oil, or there's no frying, there's no browning of the egg. And if you don't know how to poach an egg, you just take a little frying pan with water, water close to the top. You add a little bit of apple cider vinegar and a little bit of salt, and just crack the egg in there and let it cook until it's soft or hard, however you like it. And then again, I'll put some greens in, or actually any vegetable that may be in the fridge. So, you don't want to leave your leftovers for more than a few days. Probably eating everything the next day is the best idea. And so it could be any of the greens. Sorry, they're playing some game. Any of the greens that I mentioned for the soup, you could use roasted cauliflower, you could use roasted broccoli or steamed broccoli, or I like to roast my vegetables. You could use Brussels sprouts, you could use cabbage, any kind of vegetable really that's on your okay list. And then for my greens, if I were to just saute those, I would kind of saute it in water, and then add a little bit of olive oil and salt. You could chop up some cherry tomatoes or fresh tomatoes. You could add some olives, and I just kind of eat that as like I actually lived in Korea for 8 months, and I used to eat something called bibimbap, and maybe you're familiar with it, but bibimbap has rice, so you just remove the rice and put all the other little things that would be in bibimbap. So you have your little bowl of healthy stuff. So that's another really easy meal that I like to make. So it's basically just leftovers, and you can just leave hard-boiled eggs in the fridge. So another thing I've been eating a lot lately, and it's very quick, is I'll just take some celery, some cucumber, and some tomatoes, chop them up. I might throw in some olives, and then I take a portion of sardines. I actually love sardines. So you could use canned sardines, and sardines are really high in omega-3 fatty acids because they're cold water, and they're tiny, so they don't have the mercury in them. Or you could use wild salmon if you have time to cook salmon. Actually, I'll tell you another thing about salmon, that it's really easy. So you can use salmon, and a canned wild salmon or canned tuna. I like to stay away from tuna though, honestly, for the most part, because of the mercury. And then another easy thing that I just mentioned is salmon. So one thing I do is I go to Costco and I buy the wild salmon, and I make sure it's the wild salmon. I actually had them check for me because they have different kinds of salmon at Costco. So I take the frozen, you take it frozen, easy to thaw in a few minutes. Like, so you would do this ahead of time. You could cook a couple of fillets at a time. You wrap them in parchment paper. So you just have a sheet of parchment paper. You put the salmon on top. I take a little bit of butter, salt, and lemon, and then I fold it up like a little present, roll up the ends, and then I stick it in the toaster oven. You could put 4 of these in at a time. You could put more if you're cooking them for your whole family. Put it in the toaster oven, 17 minutes on 325, and it tastes awesome. So you could use that fish as an easy thing to add to your bowl. A couple of snacks that I like to do are seaweed and avocado. So there is, actually, I can't remember what kind of seaweed it is right at the moment, but it's got a blue, pale blue or light blue and white label, and it's roasted in olive oil. And I actually met the owner of the company a while ago, and I asked her, they cook it at low temperature, and so the olive oil doesn't go rancid. And so you can just wrap up some avocado. You could wrap up avocado and cucumber in that. It's so good. And another one is tahini and celery instead of peanut butter and celery. You kind of get addicted to that taste, the tahini taste, just plain. And then, back up to the bowl. I also add a little bit of lemon often if I'm going to put fish in there, actually all the time. And then the last thing is cucumber and guacamole. So if you have a good, clean, fresh guacamole that you buy, fine, that has the right ingredients in it, or just take avocado and mash it up with lemon and salt, and add use cucumber to scoop it up, or celery could also be used. So those are some quick ideas that I have used and I use again and again. And if you have any other questions, I'm just going to keep posting the answers in here so everyone can see them at the same time, so that I don't have to reiterate myself. So hope this helps, and I will see you next time. Now let's see if I can turn this thing off.